side note, I don't know that I would do that because I'm not a big hit and run guy personally. So I don't know that I would um, have any players that I'm coaching where I have the authority over what they are doing or not doing in competition. I don't know that I would put them in that situation because it just wouldn't be useful because I'm probably not going to be asking them to do that in a game anyway. So
that's fair.
That's a whole other conversation though.
Yeah. For me personally, I want my offense to be dexterous, adaptable and dexterous.
Oh, so, I do like the idea of a guy running while a hitter is hitting.
That's fair.
And I do like.
But you want that to be a straight steal if a guy's running. I want it to be
organic. Like I do not want to tell hitters. I don't tell hitters, hey, if you like, if a guy's running and he gets a great jump, I want you to take that pitch. I don't say that. No, if it's something you feel like you can hammer, crush it. Let the hit and runs happen that way. Let them happen. It actually might happen more frequently as a result of just allowing it to organically happen. Playing the game with what they're seeing in the moment, what they're attuning to, what the game is providing them, kind of giving it to them in that way. As far as like me, like explicitly saying you're going to run here and you're going to swing no matter what, like that's not who I am as a coach. I like giving more of that freedom and kind of teaching before and after to players how they could potentially be picking up better information and being able to, maybe provide for themselves better ways to be more successful. I think it's better if it happens organically instead of me legislating it by putting a sign on to say, hey, we're hitting and running here. Like, no, just let it happen naturally.
No, I like that. So when I'm thinking about what you're saying, I'm thinking about like, okay, how would I design my practices to allow the players to fully take advantage of that philosophy? And so like, based upon what you were saying, I would want my hitters and runners to some extent, but no, actually runners too. So I want my hitters to actually experience that where they see guys just take off. We don't know that they're running. They take off. And quite honestly, I would want guys to have some attunement and some sensitivity to that, but then also some sensitivity and attunement to, is that really, really a pitch that you can drive? Because if you feel like, maybe like initially you're like, yes, and then you're like, not 100% on this, and he got a great jump, shut it down. You know what I mean? Like sure, that you have to create scenarios where they train that field, because otherwise they're just going to take a hack there and it's going to hurt your guys that, he had a great jump that time and
he fouled it off.
Yep. And so, but on the flip side, you then need your runners used to the fact of you go steal, ball put in play in the air, you got to go find the ball.
They need to be peaking.
They have to have that awareness of being able to find the ball, pick it up, and know whether or not they got to book it back to their previous base, or you know what, maybe actually you got two bases or more there, and you got to be ready to get going on your horse. I mean, because sometimes I bet you'd see that too, where a guy just goes to steal and they see it hit and they just stop at the base that they're going to. So
well, I think that from like a base running standpoint and from just like a playing the game standpoint, that is, that's just being, as we've talked about a lot here, being in the moment, being attuned to what the ball is doing, being aware of every bit of piece of info that you can be taking up around you in the environment to then be able to make better decisions and be more instinctual with how you are trying to play the game that's going to lead to the most amount of success. So, which, would be a very big part from an offensive standpoint. If I was in control of an offense, that I would be trying to instill those concepts and those ideas and principles. And more specifically, if you're stealing, you like 100% of the time you peak. There is never a time that you are stealing that you are not looking in to try to pick up the ball as it's going into the hitting zone. Like, always, you always need to be picking that up, because you never know if the hitter is going to be swinging at that pitch or not. So you need to be picking that up. The other thing from a hitting standpoint, and you brought this point up, it's a really good point. Having conversations with the hitters to say, listen, I want you to have the freedom to hit. If it's a pitch that you feel like you can hammer in a gap somewhere, I also want you to have the freedom to feel like if you want to take that pitch because you would rather hit with him on second than him on 1st, take it. Like, I want to leave that up to them. Like, and that is a decision based on them in the moment, how they're feeling, whether they're confident enough to be able to take a pitch down the middle. Maybe it gets into 1 strike, maybe it gets into 2, but they're confident enough in their ability to be able to get the job done later in the at bat because maybe they want a better RBI opportunity. So having the freedom to do either or, those are conversations that you have with your hitters as well. And then it's something you talk about before. It's something you talk about after ABs so that they can better be able to determine whether that was a good decision to either swing or not swing and how they can be better from that moving forward in the future. As far as a practice design standpoint, I think that's why I'm such a believer in playing games as often as you possibly can. Now, with the intention of having conversation before and after so that you can learn from stuff that happens in the game. But that's why, from a practice design standpoint, as often as we can create those situations by playing actual games with the freedom to be able to stop games if necessary, to be able to talk about situations and be able to learn from them. But as often as you possibly can, you play games so that you put players in those situations so that you can then facilitate that conversation so that they can grow from it. But to your point, you can't attune better in those moments, in these types of situations, from a base running standpoint, from a hitting standpoint, unless you are actually doing it and it's actually real, which is why games are so important for hitters and base runners and pitchers and catchers and fielders and all baseball players. It's so important for their development, and the ability to be able to create those conversations comes from that.